Before there were kings, there were clans. Before there were gods, there was fire. Saying of the flame keepers long before the first empire marked stone with the names of its dead, before the horsemen of the steppes thundered across the open world, there lived a people in the southern edge of the wind-worn highlands. A people who worshipped not idols or men, but fire itself. They called themselves the Ashen Kai, those of the flame. Their language is lost now, broken like burnt bark, but their legacy still lingers in whispers among forgotten peaks. To the Ashen Kai, fire was not a tool. It was a god, a judge, a mother, a killer. Once every 100 years, the fire spoke, not with sound, but with markings, a birthmark, dark as coal, shaped like a curling flame, etched on the body of a newborn. This child was called Velkai, the fire child. And the legends say, when the fire child rises, 100 clans will burn or bow. But this time, the mark came too early. It was in the 9th cycle of the ember moon when a woman screamed in the birthing tent. Thunder cracked above the cliffs, though there were no clouds. Her child was born with smoke in his breath and ash-colored eyes. And on his chest, the mark. Twisted, deep, red-black. Too sharp for birth. Too ancient for innocence. The elders trembled. It had been only 70 years since the last Velkai. The fire had never chosen two in 1 century. Some called it a blessing. Others called it a curse. One elder whispered, "This is no child. This is fire taking the form to burn us from within." And so, the boy, named Kale, was raised not as a prince, not as a savior, but as a question. Was he chosen or cursed? The Flame clan began to fracture. Kale did not cry like other children. He stared, eyes gray as winter ash, always watching. He did not laugh easily, nor play with the others in the dust fields. His presence made the air feel heavier. When he was angry, small flames danced along the edges of oil lamps. When he touched wood, it warmed. And when he touched his mother's forehead at night, her fever broke without herbs. Some whispered, "The fire protects him." Others muttered, "No, it waits." As Kale grew, the elders of the Flame clan grew fearful. The last fire child had united 3 tribes. But Kale? He was born during peace. There was no war to fight, no clans to conquer. Yet he radiated unrest. He was taught to read the ash marks, sacred fire symbols etched on bark and stone. He memorized chants of the Flame tongue, the old language spoken only in ceremonies. But unlike previous heirs, Kale questioned everything. "If fire cleanses," he once asked, "why did it kill my father with smoke?" His father had died months before his birth, choked in a forest blaze during a summer hunt. The tribe called it an accident, but his mother never believed that. She once told Kale, in a whisper, "The fire doesn't kill without reason." Someone called it that day. That idea burned in him. By the time he was 10, Kale could walk the ring of heat, a ritual circle of burning coals, without a single blister. The elders called it a sign of divinity. The warriors called it dangerous. But outside the sacred mountains, change was stirring. A rival tribe, the Vorna, known as Bone Eaters, had begun moving westward, burning smaller camps in their path. Their leader, a war witch named Sharnara, claimed the fire spirit was dead, and her gods now reigned in smoke and bone. The Flame clan feared invasion. But worse, they feared Kale's reaction. What would happen when a child, born of fire, met a world that tried to extinguish it? The elders gathered in silence. Within the Hall of Smoke, the sacred chamber carved into the blackened rock of the cliffside, 12 clan heads sat in a circle. Behind them, flames danced in narrow stone bowls, casting flickers on their weathered faces. All eyes turned toward the center, to the empty seat of the fire child. Kale had not been invited. "He's not ready," said Elder Marka, a hawk-eyed woman with braids woven from wolf fur. "He's watching," replied another. "He always is." For years, they had feared his growth. Now, they feared his influence. Some said Kale could speak to fire, command it. Others believed it was mere coincidence. But even the skeptics remembered the day lightning struck the northern cliff, and Kale had walked out from the shattered rock untouched. They called it the Cinder Sign. But power, even sacred power, is dangerous in the wrong hands. And Kale's blood was not pure. His mother, Lara, was of the Ashen Kai, but his father was an outsider, a wanderer who came from the west, bearing tattoos of a forgotten sun god and a blade forged in salt iron. He had no clan name, only stories and scars. That was the unspoken truth behind Kale's curse. He was not just marked by fire. He was born of a strange flame. The elders worried what that meant. Was he the fire child, or a spark from another god? Meanwhile, Kale listened. High above, in the Watcher's alcove, a hidden ledge above the Hall of Smoke, Kale crouched in silence. He knew every echo of the chamber, every hesitation in the elders' voices, every breath between their lies. And in that moment, he heard the thing that burned him most. If he proves dangerous, Elder Marco whispered, we must extinguish the flame before it becomes a wildfire. Kale did not cry. He did not tremble. He simply whispered to the fire beside him, they forget. I do not burn alone. Kale's mother, Lara, lived far from the central camp now. After his birth, the elders gave her land beyond the dead tree's path, where even birds did not nest. They said it was for her peace. But she knew the truth. It was exile, elegant, silent exile, for birthing a fire-marked child from an outsider. But Lara was not broken. She was fired in another form, quiet, enduring, dangerous only when ignored. Each night, she lit a small flame in a stone bowl before sleeping, not with flint, but with her breath. Kale watched this ritual every evening. You're not like them, she told him once. You're older than them. You carry more than this clan understands. They call you cursed because they fear what they cannot command. And so Kale began to train, not in the warrior's circle, where the sons of noble blood learned spear and shield, but in the old ways. The ways of the first flame keepers. He learned how to map wind by the direction of ashes, how to pull heat from stone, how to listen to the fire not as an enemy or servant, but as a memory. Lara gave him his father's blade, short, blackened with salt rust, and curved like a half-moon. This blade killed no man, she said, but it ended 3 monsters. Kale never asked what the monsters were. Yet even as he grew in knowledge and silence, the clan grew restless. Whispers ran through the mountain paths like dry wind before lightning. The Vorna were closer. They had burned the settlements of Tarn Rock and Dusk Hollow. And still, the Flame Clan did not move. The people began to ask, where is the fire child? Why does the flame choose silence? Kale heard them, all of them, and he began leaving marks, small ash symbols carved into trees, walls, even weapons. Ancient runes from the forgotten tongue of fire. A message that only the oldest among them recognized. The flame does not answer fear, but it remembers who tried to smother it. It was a warning. To his enemies, to the elders, to the mountain itself. It began not with a battle cry, but with a child's scream. Near the southern ridge of Stone Hollow Creek, just beyond the Flame Clan's sacred hunting lands, a Vorna raiding band struck without warning. They came with bone-pierced faces, war paint smeared with ash and blood, and weapons carved from animal jaws and iron. They killed 7. They took 5. They left burned bones and a message carved in blood. Your god is smoke. Ours is bone. The news reached the elders by dusk. Fear settled like frost. But still, no command was given. No horn was sounded. The council debated, but they could not agree whether this was war or warning. Kale didn't wait. He left before midnight, alone. No warriors. No scouts. Just him and the blackened moonblade his father once carried. His mother tried to stop him. If you strike first, they'll call it vengeance. Let them, Kale replied. They already call me worse. He found the Vorna camp before dawn. The scouts who followed his trail found it an hour later, and what they saw became legend. 6 Vorna warriors dead, their bodies burned not by torch, but by heat from within, as if something had boiled their blood in silence. No smoke, no sign of fire on the grass. Only a trail of ash, and Kale, sitting by the creek, eyes closed, blade untouched by blood. He said nothing when they found him. But that night, when the council met in fury and fear, Kale stood before them for the first time. I did what you would not, he said. I bled the enemy before they bled us dry. You are a child, Marka shouted. You do not speak for the clan. I do not speak, Kale answered. The fire speaks through me. And then he raised his hand, revealing the glowing ember mark on his chest. Before the elders could react, a gust of wind roared through the hall of smoke, extinguishing every flame but one. The fire in Kale's hand still burned. The clan did not sleep that night. News of Kale's strike spread faster than flame in dry grass. To the warriors, he was a hero. To the elders, a danger. And to the people, the ones who had lost sons and daughters to the Vorna, he was something else entirely. They began calling him Ashborn, the one who returns when the fire is forgotten. Elder Marka tried to control the council, but her voice was no longer the only one that mattered. Elder Run, once silent, now spoke in Kale's defense. So did the young guards, the fire tenders, the hunters. They said, he did what fire does, cleanse what threatens it. If he had not gone, the Vorna would have come again. He bears the mark. That is the law. But Marka was unmoved. That mark is not law. It is a prophecy, and prophecy has no place in war. She pushed for Kale's confinement, to silence the growing chants in his name. But fate did not wait for her vote. At dawn, the Vorna returned. This time, they came with fire of their own. More than 100 warriors surged through the southern pass, carrying crude flame sacks, oil skins ignited mid-throw, and hurling them at the outer huts. The first row of homes went up like dried leaves. The mountain sky turned orange. The flame clan was caught unready. The warriors scrambled. The elders screamed orders. Confusion ruled, until Kale appeared at the hilltop, alone, again. His cloak burned at the edges. His chest is bare. His ember mark glowing red-hot like coal left too long in the pit. He raised both arms, not in surrender, but in command, and the winds shifted. Without a torch or oil, the fire around the huts turned backward toward the attackers. Witnesses swore they saw the flames curve like serpents, leap over the defenders, and strike the Vorna ranks. 20 fell. 10 ran. And for the first time, Vorna fled in fear. When the smoke cleared, Kale stood silent. His hands blistered. His eyes were distant. But the people no longer questioned him. They knelt. In the aftermath of the Vorna retreat, the Flame Clan did not celebrate. They mourned their dead. They buried their burned. And they whispered, not in fear, but in awe. The fire answered him. He is not a child. He is a force. Velkai has returned. But within the Council of Ash, panic brewed. Some elders demanded Kale's anointment, the ritual crowning of the Fire Child. Others, led by Marka, resisted with venom. He controls flame, she spat. But that is not the same as wisdom. Then let the fire judge, said Elder Run. And so they agreed. A trial, not of law, of flame. Kale would enter the pit of choosing, a cavern beneath the sacred cliffs, where generations of flame children had walked barefoot across the fire veins. Those unworthy came out scarred. The true ones walked unharmed. Kale accepted without a word. But the night before the trial, his mother, Lara, came to him, pale, hollow-eyed, holding something wrapped in black cloth. I never told you, she said, because I feared what it would make you. She unwrapped a scroll, brittle and burned at the edges. It bore a seal in the shape of a twisted sun, not from the Flame Clan, but another, long forgotten. This, she whispered, is from your father's people. Kale stared at the sigil, a flaming eye surrounded by broken chains. He was not just a wanderer, she confessed. He was the last heir of the Sunwalkers, a tribe destroyed by the Flame Clan 3 generations ago. Kale's breath caught. You mean, we are their enemy? Lara nodded. The mark you carry is not from fire alone. It is from vengeance. Your flame is old, older than any of them know. Kale stood in silence, his fingers curling around the scroll. Then let them test me, he said. Let them burn me. Kale, if I carry 2 flames, then let them see what happens when both ignite. The pit of choosing had not been opened in decades. It lay deep beneath the Blackspire cliffs, sealed behind a stone gate marked with ancient fire runes, older than the clan itself. Only those born with the ember mark were ever allowed to enter. Cale stood before it, bare-chested, barefoot, his blade left behind. He felt no fear, not because he trusted the trial, but because he no longer trusted the flame. The council gathered in silence. Warriors formed a half-circle at the edge of the cavern mouth. His mother stood alone on a ledge, holding the scroll of his father's people. The stone gate split open. Heat rushed out, not wild or smoky, but alive, like a breath long held. Inside, glowing veins of molten rock lit the walls. At the center, a bridge of stone arched over a narrow river of fire. No chants, no prayers, just silence and the path ahead. Cale stepped in. The stone was hot enough to blister, but he kept walking. Each step seemed to pulse beneath him, like a heartbeat. The flames below flickered higher, not to burn, but to watch. Halfway across, it began. The air changed. The temperature rose, not around him, but inside him. His ember mark throbbed with heat. His vision blurred. Then he heard it. Not a voice, not a word. A memory. The roar of old battles. Screams. Chanting in the language of the Sunwalkers. A child crying. Fire raining down on homes. He saw flashes. Women burned in chains. Warriors struck down not by enemies, but by his ancestors. The Flame Clan had not just destroyed the Sunwalkers. They had erased them and taken their flame. Cale collapsed to his knees, gripping his chest as the mark glowed like molten iron. But he did not scream. He stood again and took the final step. The flames around him bowed, shrinking back like servants before a master. The cavern pulsed once, and the bridge beneath him cracked, not from weight, but recognition. Outside, the watchers gasped. Cale emerged with his eyes glowing faintly, not red, but white-hot, like the center of a forge. His feet were unburned. His mark still alive. Elder Run dropped to one knee. But Marco whispered, shaken, "This is no fire child. This is a flame we do not understand." Cale's return from the pit was supposed to end doubt. Instead, it broke the clan in half. Some called him the true flame, a rebirth of the lost power of both Sunwalkers and Flamekeepers. Others whispered a darker name, the twice-born fire, not chosen, but merged, a union of ancient revenge and forgotten bloodlines. The elders were split. Elder Run knelt, declaring Cale Velkai reborn. Marka, trembling but unbending, called for a second trial, not by flame, but by judgment of the ancestors. "This child carries not only our fire," she said, "but the ghost of those we destroyed. What if he brings fire not to lead, but to punish?" But the people no longer listened to Marka. The warriors began forming circles around Cale, following his silent steps, seeking his guidance. Young firekeepers brought him old scrolls, burned fragments of pre-clan writings that even the elders had forbidden. And Cale read them all. He was not just a flame. He was a mirror. And what he saw in the clan, the silence, the buried history, the twisted pride, was wrought beneath gold. "The fire does not lie," he told his followers. "But men who speak for it often do." In secret, Cale began gathering those who believed in the old truth, not the truth of banners and bloodlines, but the flame's original law. Fire exists to reveal, not to rule. But as his strength grew, so did Marka's desperation. In the shadow of the third moon, she sent 2 assassins, masked in ceremonial ash, cloaked in elder symbols, to Cale's tent while he slept. They never returned. Their bodies were found 2 days later, not burned, but frozen, skin pale, breath gone, as if the flame itself had refused them. A warning. And in the mountain winds, a phrase began to echo across the clan's lands. "The fire does not serve you. It remembers you." Marka knew. She had not created a leader. She had awakened a reckoning. It began with a whisper, a message scrawled in ash across the walls of the outer camp. The flame bows to no elder. "Come to the mountain, and remember." By dusk, over 50 people had vanished from their tents. By midnight, 100 more. They gathered in silence at the foot of High Ember Peak, the oldest flame altar in Flame Clan memory, long sealed by order of the council. There, Cale stood before them, the ember mark on his chest no longer glowing red, but white, like the inside of a dying star. He did not raise a sword. He raised the truth. "You were told the fire began with the clan," he said. "But I have walked the pit. I have heard the screams beneath the stone. The flame is older than our blood, and it does not belong to those who fear it." They called it a gathering, but the elders saw it as rebellion. Marcus sent messengers to demand Cale's surrender. He sent them back, not in chains, not in blood, but with a gift, a scroll of forbidden history, torn from the archives, marked with the symbols of both the Flame Clan and the Sunwalkers. "Ask her why this was hidden," Cale wrote at the bottom. The council faltered. Even Run, who had once supported Cale, feared what came next. "You are not trying to lead," he warned. "You are trying to change everything." Cale replied, "No, I'm trying to burn what was never true to begin with." And the people agreed. The clan's young warriors began refusing orders from the council. Flame keepers left the sacred halls, choosing Cale's mountain over Marca's rituals. Even some elders began to question the stories they'd sworn to uphold. Then, under the shadow of the blood moon, it happened. Cale lit the altar on High Ember Peak, an altar that had not burned in 200 years. He did not use a flint. He did not use oil. He breathed, and the fire came. And from that flame came a voice, not in words, but in memory, like thunder rolling through bone. "The blood you protect is not your own." The fire remembers. The fire returns. Every person present collapsed in shock, weeping, shivering. But Cale stood tall. "This is not a rebellion," he said. "This is the fire coming back to itself." For the first time in the clan's memory, two fires burned. One in the Hall of Smoke, under elder law and guarded by loyalists. One on High Ember Peak, lit by Cale's breath, surrounded by the people. The clan was no longer one people. They were flame-bound and ash-born. Marca, furious and cornered, made her move. On the dawn of the 8th Ember, she called forth the Ash Guard, an elite force of loyalists, and marched them to High Ember Peak. No warning, no trial, no diplomacy, only fire to kill fire. Her order was clear: bring me Cale's mark. If it must be cut from him, so be it. But Cale was already waiting. Hundreds stood with him, warriors, mothers, firekeepers, even children. None held blades. They carried torches, but not for battle. Their flame was a declaration. When the Ash Guard reached the base of the peak, they stopped. Not because they were outnumbered, they weren't, but because Cale stepped forward, alone, and spoke a final truth. This clan was built on a lie. A beautiful one, but a lie. The flame never chose us. We took it. We made it ours. But now, it remembers its first voice. He raised both hands. From behind him, fire rose, not wild, not vengeful, but slow, as if awakening. Then, the sky changed. The blood moon passed directly over the peak, and the altar's fire turned blue-white, an ancient color the clan had not seen since before written time. And the mark on Cale's chest began to split, from one symbol into two. One, the curling flame of the Flame Clan. The other, the shattered sun of the Sunwalkers. Two legacies, side by side. And at that moment, the ground beneath High Ember Peak cracked. The mountain itself reacted. Some say it was an earthquake. Others say it was something deeper, an old god stirring. Either way, the fire exploded into the sky, not destroying, but cleansing. The Ash Guard fell back, blinded by light. When the smoke cleared, Cale still stood. And Marca was gone, swallowed by the same flame she had claimed to command. The mountain burned for 3 days, not in destruction, but in transformation. Ash fell like snow. The skies turned gold at night. Birds fled. The winds shifted. And when it was over, the people emerged and changed. Cale descended from High Ember Peak on the 4th day. His eyes no longer glowed. His mark, once vivid and alive, had faded, not vanished, but gone quiet. "The flame has returned," he said. "It does not need me anymore." The clan gathered at the mountain's base. No one bowed. Instead, they stood in silence, equals before a force older than them all. The elders, what remained of them, offered him the staff of leadership. But Cale refused. "I was never meant to rule," he said. "I was meant to remember." And so the Flame clan changed, no longer ruled by lineage, but by circle, where no voice rose above another. The sacred scrolls were unsealed. The name of the Sunwalkers was written into their songs again. The children learned 2 alphabets, the fire runes of the Flame Keepers, and the light glyphs of Kale's father's lost people. They called this new age the era of Second Flame. Kale left soon after. No one knows where. Some say he walked into the river of smoke, never to return. Others say he wanders still, carrying fire where truth has been buried. But high atop the cliff, where the altar once stood, the flame still burns, not red, not blue, but white, flickering softly each night under the stars. A reminder, that fire is not for gods, not for kings, not for war. It is for memory. It is for those brave enough to carry it, even when it burns.